Alright, so these are the tongue and groove mahogany boards that I got from my friend Bill, and you can't tell because I've run these through the planer, and so they were originally actually outside, and we ran through the planer here and took the finish off that was on them. However, I must not have had the planer set right or something, because let's see if I can show this to you. This guy is the thickness is not the same from one side to the other. Light's kind of bad. There we go. That's better. So the thickness isn't the same from one side to the other. So some of them are okay, some of them are not. This one's not. So I'm going to pick and choose a little bit. But I have a bunch of them left over. I got a whole pile here, and I only need a couple of good ones out of that. So that one looks good. And then if you look and see, the templates are wider than the boards. That doesn't really matter. I only need the inside, but also because they're tongue and groove, I need to cut the tongue off here, and I need to cut the groove off here. So this template's 3 inches wide, but the boards are going to be probably the frame's only going to end up being about 2 1/4 or something, which is fine. Doesn't make much difference. But what I really need to do is trim these boards down first on the table saw, and take the tongue and groove all off and just make square boards. So off to the table saw first. Power would help. Alright, check the adjustment. That's good. And lock down. And that's why you don't stand behind the blade. That piece comes shooting back out of here. Little tiny pieces can easily get caught in stuff. Alright. All that stops. Now make sure this piece is all out of here. Okay, now I have all the pieces cut to the same width. But these were tongue and groove, right? So they were nailed into the deck that they were part of. And you can see here on the edge, there's nail holes. So I've got to lay this stuff out in such a way that I don't get any nail holes on either the inside or the outside face of my frame. So now that I have all my templates right to here, and I have all the boards all cut to width, now it's time to do the layout. With my table saw unplugged, now I can use the table saw bed for doing some layout. And I need 2 of everything except for number 7. I need one of these this way and one of these this way, because I want to keep the face the same. And on this, like on this first one in particular, think about it, it's going to go like this, right? So there's one here and one here. These are on the bottom. So I might as well make the grain match, right? Because I can use one piece of wood. No nail holes in the edge of this one. Well, down here, but I can get 2 pieces out of this easily. So I'll lay this out so that I can actually match the grain across the 2 different pieces here and there. It'll be really close. Actually, I want to do that on the narrow face, don't I? So narrow face here, and narrow face here. I like to sharpen my pencils to a chisel point. I use my belt sander, big belt sander for this, and so that I have a really nice sharp edge on the face of that pencil. I can draw this way and get a nice smooth line. So this old baby is about I don't even know, probably about a 40-year-old bandsaw that my brother and I actually bought and used. It was one of the first tools that Kerry had used to make armor, and now he's running Baltimore Knife and Sword. So this old Craftsman bandsaws worked great. We cut metal on it for years and years, and now using it for wood here in my shop. I've got a pretty fast cutting blade on it. The idea is that now that I have these pieces marked, I'm going to cut them pretty, kind of a little bit wide of the pencil lines, and then I'm just going to sand them to fit on the belt sander. I've got a 6x48 belt sander, so we're just going to rough cut and sand to fit. But the template idea, that looks like that worked great. So it'll be interesting to get all these pieces cut out and actually make them into a ring. See how close we are. All right, bandsaw time. That ain't gonna work. I need another 3. Because that, the end of this number 3, and that ain't gonna go. Alright, let's lay out. Which one do I need here? Yeah, I need this face side. I'm not going to get that out of this, am I? Shoot. Well, maybe. No. No. Right on the edge. Ain't going to fit out of that board. What's that other one? That one. Alright, time for some layout. I don't know if this is big enough. Let's see. because it's upside down from the way I drew it, right? So the one thing I tried to do was match the grain in pairs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Right? Came out really good. Even though the 2 3s were cut from different boards, their color is almost exactly right. Alright, so I hadn't intended really at this stage to really have these angles be right. They're cut kind of wide of the pencil lines, and that's okay. So that's pretty crazy. So really these should overlap by about that far. Right? So they're all a little bit long. Which means they don't fit really, really well, but that's okay. Long is good. I don't have a board stretcher, but I have a big sanding disc, or a big sanding belt, so. It's almost 12-sided. What's going on with these guys? This is, yeah, it says it's right. Never tried to make a 13-sided thing before, so. That's just a scratch. I don't know how I'm gonna attach these together yet. I think I'm gonna put some I'll put some plywood underneath it. I don't know. We'll figure it out as we go. So remember how I made this sheet up with all these numbers on it? Good thing I did, because I just went and looked at template number 1. It's not right. That short's supposed to be 3 6 45, and it's almost 4 7/8. I'm sorry, 3 6 45. It's 3 7/8. So it's a good 1/4 of an inch long, and if I measure the outside length, it's supposed to be 5.012. So that's only 1/100 of an inch off. That's less than 5 1/32, right? So this is 5 1/4, over 5 1/4. Interestingly enough, when I go to measure number 2, his short side is supposed to be 4.276, and he's 4 1/4, just a shade longer than 4 1/4, which is right. And the long side is 5.88, so it ought to be almost 5 7/8, and it's almost exactly right. So number 1 has gotten scaled up somehow. Well, that's okay. I can cut the number 1 board shorter. It's not that big a deal. But now I'm going to go check all the rest of these lengths and make sure that these templates are what they're supposed to be. So the only one that's off is number 1. I don't know why he's scaled up. 1 and 2 were printed actually together. These two were printed on the printer at the same time. So why 2 should be right and 1 should be wrong, I don't know. That's very strange. It just means that I need to fix the number 1 blocks to their correct length. Their angles should be fine. So even if it scaled it up, you'd think the angles would stay the same. So I don't know. Just need to make these 3.645, and right now they're 3 7/8. So use the back side where I have 30 seconds here. It's like 23, 30 seconds, and it's definitely more than 6:45. 6:45 is going to be, well, just a fraction longer. Let's see, how many 30, that's about 30 seconds is about 0.03, and this is 14 longer than 3.5. So it should be about 4/16, 4/30 seconds. So it should be 1/8 of an inch over 3.5. Yeah, that's about right. So it's way longer than that. I may have to go do some math and figure out what happened to this thing. So, do you remember that app crash I had yesterday where the CAD program crashed? Yeah, when I recreated the thing, guess what I forgot to do? Scale everything down by 15/16. Because I made the initial diameter of the unit, or the frame, the same diameter as the mirror, and then I wanted a ½ inch on each side, so I needed it to be 15 inches wide on the inside diameter instead of 16 inches wide. So I scaled it down. But I forgot to do it the second time. The reason that number 1 showed up as a different size is because I wrote those numbers down before the program crashed when I had remembered to scale it. Okay, fine. So the good news about that is I don't have to worry about the angles. The angles are still all the same. All I need is a different length, but I can still use this as a template to redraw the piece of wood. So right now, the short end of this measures, I went and got my dial caliper, right? So I don't have to convert everything from decimal fractions to 30 seconds, right? So this measures 390, and I need it to be 365. So if I mark 365 on here, and then take this, lock it at 365, 3645, I'm sorry, 365 is close. Okay, 3645. So at 3645, a little bit short, I can mark where that is on here on the short side. Just use this as a scratch all, right, on that point. Take this template, put it here, mark that line, and then cut that shim off on the bandsaw, and we should be back to having something that actually fits inside of here. The next thing I'm going to do after I do all that, mark and cut all these, then I'm going to take this big dirty white piece of plywood that's back here, which I spent like an hour. I don't know if you can see the pile of stuff that's back here in the back here. Anyhow, that's the rest of the mahogany. It weighs like 1,000 pounds. I had to move most of it in order to get that piece of plywood out of the pile from underneath of it. So I'm going to cut that as a template. Well, actually, I'm going to cut that as the back. So these pieces are going to go together like this, right? And then I'm going to glue the plywood on the back. So I'm going to cut the plywood in a ring where the inside of the ring is exactly matches the mirror, and that'll be about a ½ inch inside here, and the outside will be about 1.5 inches wide. So it'll be a solid plywood ring all the way around, and then then I can glue and brad nail these to the plywood, and then the mirror will fit in behind it. I think I'm going to leave the inside segmented. The other thing I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to cut these to width, because they're not all the same width. Even though the boards are the same width this way, of course, at an angle they're not the same. So I need to figure out, you know, which of these pieces has the shortest distance along this angle, right, and make all the pieces that, so that I have an angled inside and outside 18-sided mirror frame. All right, time to get measuring. All right, ones that marked are here. Okay, to the bandsaw. You know, one thing that's funny in trying to frame these shots, it's really hard to get stuff that's down here on the table and my face in the shot at the same time, because I'm 6'4". I need to be this tall, and it'd be a lot easier, you know, to be able to show you guys. Whatever. Okay, all the pieces are now cut to the correctly scaled lengths. Let's see how that works. Dial caliper down here, scale down here. All right. The other thing is, I noticed when I did this, I had the 5s on the wrong side. So I need to make sure that I have them correct. Six and 7. Ah, that looks more like the thing. Okay, that's getting better. 4, 5, 6. All right, so that's a lot closer. They're splayed out funny because they're sitting down at an angle from the mirror down to the table. So really the next thing to do, now that I know I have these right, let's pick them up in the right order so I can put them back easier. 5, 6. And 7 on top. All right. I need to make that piece of plywood look like this with a ring around it. So this needs to sit inside the piece of plywood, and then the wood will sit, because it's just about the same thickness, and then the mahogany will sit face on that. And then I have some metal brackets, he says confidently, right here someplace. Some flat metal brackets that I'm going to screw on the back. I also bought some of the right length screws and some of the right length brad nails to make sure I don't nail through the thing for my air pin nailer. So I should be able to air nail it together, glue it together with waterproof glue because it's going to be in a bathroom. It's going to get humid. You want to make sure that you use waterproof glue on things. And I'm also going to then use the oil impregnated polyurethane, which I actually put away. No wonder it's not here. It's like, oh yeah, here it is. So this is a oil modified polyurethane for floors in wet areas. So I've done the walls in the bathroom and the floors with that and the molding with that. So it should all look pretty much the same. Okay. Should be 2 inches. All right. A better way to do this. I really need a divider, right, to do that. I have one somewhere. We're just going to do it this way. I'm basically going to use my dial caliper as a scratch stock. Use the inside. I'm going to measure to here, right? All right. Back to the bandsaw. All right. So you might notice that I cut it on the other side of the line here, so that the mirror should definitely fit in here. Yeah, baby. All right. So now, also the where it's split up here, that's where the keystone's going to go. So 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That helps. All right. That's looking better. All right. Still needs to be jogged a little bit, but I'm not. This isn't final anyway. I need to turn it over so that the plywood's on top at some point. Yeah, that's better. All right. So I may still have to trim the plywood a little bit. This could be really cool when I get this ready.